news as a whole keeps the world informed about global and local events typically 24 hours daily. Within this time frame, most of the content on the news is typically viewed as negative, which can lead to the effects of panic, anxiety, depression, and anger in some cases due to the content or situational events being displayed. The news may also cause no effects to an individual, but may instead be independent of their opinion, thus they may think the news is irrelevant unless it's a problem within their range. There are two causes that I've found that seem to have an impact on strong negative reactions, and these two causes are the external versus internal causes of the news. First, let's go over the internal cause. A brief description of what the internal cause is it's the reaction from individuals with more of an emotional and mental background, as well as in some cases, the age of an individual. To get a better understanding of what the cause actually is, we need to look at some scenario examples. The first example is the Ukraine war, which has shown chaos and death since it first made headlines. Sometimes, the news shows a little too much unnecessary detail during warlike scenarios such as this one, as this could affect a large number of people who are more emotionally geared, as they are much more likely to have a much stronger negative reaction towards the facts, danger, sadness, and even death that's being displayed. Even though the war isn't necessarily happening to those individuals, they still have a strong reaction, possibly even a similar reaction to those individuals trapped in the war zone. Some of the leading factors in the internal causes are mental and psychological nature of an individual, as some people may react a certain way depending on their personal backgrounds, mental state, age, or even previous traumas and abuses. A second example to help explain this reasoning would be an abusive relationship, which could affect how an individual views the world depending on what the abuse changed or even what the abuse itself was. This could greatly alter a person's reaction as a whole. Here's a study that investigated the effects of content on news programs based on mood states and personal worries. 3 groups were shown 14-minute news segments that were edited to display either positive, neutral, or negative valence material. Participants who watched the negative news content showed both increases in anxious and sadder moods, as well as a significant increase in the tendency to personal worry. The results are suggesting that negativity in the news programs can show a vast range of personal concerns that are not specifically relevant to the news content being displayed. Even with this test, it's also a less consistent gauge on the news negativity due to it being individuals' own personal reasons and mental health rather than just the level of news content. The other cause is the external cause, in which individuals that are closer to an issue or the region has a relationship to that situation are much more likely to have a stronger reaction towards the news being displayed. This also applies to individuals that are from a far distance that had either a slight reaction or a moderate reaction, depending on the news situations being displayed. To make this more transparent, let's go back to the topic of the Ukraine war as an example. The individuals that are not near the war zone or even close to the area are more so to have a moderate reaction or none at all due to the war not specifically happening to them. It's still natural to see a tragedy and have some sort of reaction, but it's not constantly in that person's mind. An example to help support this is when the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial was happening at the exact same time as the war, and it ended up being more searched overall on the internet. This is because those individuals may not even care or even know what's going on outside their countries. This is an example of an external cause, as people from afar don't really have the same reactions as they aren't in the same situations or even know about the situations in general. A different example is if somebody in the U.S. saw poverty in the news, they would probably have a pretty distressed reaction because it's more of a relatable issue due to it being an issue within their country. Now, if someone in India saw poverty on the U.S. news, there would be a significantly stronger reaction than the people in the U.S. due to poverty in India being much more significant than poverty in the U.S. But they both still have strong reactions as a whole. This is because the issue is something that both countries deal with, just on slightly different levels. Here's a test that supports the external cause as a country's situation can heavily affect a person's reaction. This has been tested with over 1,000 respondents across 17 countries. This test is where an individual would watch 7 randomly picked negative news topics presented on laptops. The results showed that individuals have a reaction towards global issues, but are much more negative towards situations relatable in their respective countries. This test shows that countries that have similar biases and issues seem to have demonstrated similar or stronger reactions as compared to countries that did not deal with those same issues. Overall, I believe that both causes are relevant, but there seems to be a better claim in the external factors than the internal factors due to the fact that it affects more people globally, as well as being more descriptive, logically supported, and effectively causing news negativity.